It's finally Friday.
It's Friday, Friday.
Thank God it's
All right, welcome back to the Friday Show, presented by Cal Racing Cares. I'm Scott Jagow, along with Ray Paulick. We're glad to have you with us. Ray, we're going to try to tackle a pretty tough subject today. We've had several stories this week about one common thread. What happens to horses after they're done at the racetrack? Some of them end up at public auction where they might get into the slaughter pipeline. But what we're finding out is there's kind of a cottage industry that's popped up around trying to bail these horses out. And you had one specific case in Texas to highlight this.
Yeah, there's a new business model for people who have been involved in buying horses for slaughter and shipping them to Mexico or Canada. You know, they sell the horses by the pound when they get to the slaughterhouse. And you know, I don't know the exact price, but it's somewhere between $400 and $600 probably that a slaughter buyer can spend on a horse and then turn a profit. But the new industry, the new business model is to spend twice that much money or more, $1,000, and instead of shipping the horse off to slaughter, they're putting a note up on Facebook, and there are multiple businesses doing this, and saying, save this horse from slaughter. They're overspending on the horse because there are other people that actually want to buy it, and they're putting a bail price on the horse to save it from slaughter, and people are spending the money, which is only helping these businesses and driving up the prices of some of the horses.
It's an unfortunate situation because what the person you're talking about, the kill buyer, is doing is not illegal. Is it unscrupulous? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty slimy what they're doing. But on the other hand, what these people are doing who are giving the money is propping up their industry. It's kind of like the federal government's policy on hostage taking. The federal government has said at one point in the past, they said, we are not going to negotiate. We're not going to take any ransom. We're not going to deal with ransom when it comes to hostages. And unfortunately, you know, if something bad happens, that's just going to have to be the policy because it's such a slippery slope. I believe that that's what's going to have to happen here. Otherwise, these people will keep doing this. They will keep jacking up the price. And then on the other side, you've got all these people making donations. And it's just going to be continuous, a cycle. And yes, what's going to happen? Maybe a handful of horses will end up going off to slaughter. And that's terrible. And I don't want to see that happen. On the other hand, these guys will not make money. They'll lose money if that happens. If you say no, they will lose money and they will stop doing it.
Yeah, the whole business model seems to be based on an old magazine cover I remember from college, National Lampoon National Lampoon, which had a picture of a dog on the cover, and it said, if you don't buy this magazine, we'll shoot the dog. Well, they didn't shoot the dog. I bought the magazine anyways, but they didn't shoot the dog. If a guy spends $1,000 for a horse, and he can only resell it at the slaughterhouse for $400 or $500, unless and then he wants $1,500. If you don't pay him, how many times is he going to keep spending that $1,000 for a horse that's really only worth $400? He's not going to. So, let him eat. Pardon the expression. Let him eat enough horses himself, so he stops doing it. Don't support these kinds of businesses.
And if you want to be there at the public auction and outbid the person, fine. But what I'm disturbed about is the Facebook and on social media end of this, where people are donating a lot of money, and it's all this. It's in this situation. It's urgent. We gotta get this $975 raised right now. Donate here. Donate. And I fear that there's not accountability. There's not documentation going on around where this money actually is going. And I'm not suggesting that a lot of these people aren't well-meaning and are doing exactly what they're saying. But I'm going to guess that there is a certain percentage who are also being unscrupulous. And you know how I know this? Because they were doing it at San Luis Rey Downs. There were a couple of examples we found of websites, GoFundMe pages that were completely fraudulent. And in the worst case, dating back to 9/11, do you know how many hundreds of people tried to take advantage of that situation by death insurance, faking deaths, all these other insurance claims. If people will do it in that situation where 3,000 souls lost their lives, I am sure it's happening in this situation.
Yeah, this whole panic buying, this panic raising fundraising, to me, is really, it's misguided. It's helping the wrong people, and it's not as if the industry hasn't progressed. In the last 10 years, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance has been formed, which accredits organizations, which raises money, provides funding. This was based on Karma, which started before the TAA out in California. Karma has been a great organization that has institutional funding, and they accredit aftercare facilities. And when you give money, where the money is going to. There's accountability and oversight, and I think that's really important. If someone just on Facebook says, I need to reach $1,500 right now, this horse is going to be sent to slaughter. How do you know how that money is going to actually be spent? And how do you know where that horse is going to go and it's going to be treated any better than it has been treated? So, the TAA has been a great thing for racing. Support that organization or other organizations that have the accountability, not these panic buyers.
Yeah, and with the TAA, yes, I agree with you completely, but there are organizations that don't have TAA accreditation that are also valid. For example, New Start through Penn National, we just highlighted them this week with Jen Reutz's article on the Aftercare Spotlight. They have the oversight and accountability of a company behind them where I know you can get documentation and see exactly where the money's going and all this stuff. So there are other organizations out there like that. But the bigger picture here, I don't want to miss this, is the issue of slaughter. It's not legal in the United States right now. Horses are going off to slaughter in Canada and Mexico. It's a fact. But there are a lot of people who are still, so anti-slaughter, they're not looking at the bigger picture. If there weren't slaughter in Canada or Mexico right now, we'd have a lot of problems. I mean, there would be a lot of problems, different problems. You'd have horses starving in pasture somewhere. My point is, and I'm backing this up by people who are in the thoroughbred aftercare business that I've spoken with, who say it's not the slaughter, it's that we need some form of humane euthanasia, because right now packing them into these trucks and sending them off to Canada and Mexico and having them in these kill pens, the conditions are horrible, the way they're slaughtered is horrible. I mean, all of that is true. So I'm not advocating for slaughter, but I am saying we probably do need some form of humane euthanasia as an alternative.
Yeah, and we're not just talking thoroughbreds here. That's a small percentage of the overall equine population that ends up in unwanted situations. You've got quarter horses and paint horses and mixed breed horses and all of that. Thoroughbreds is part of it, and it is a very real problem for all the breeds. And some people think that it would be better to have slaughter in the United States that's regulated by the USDA, and so that at least but as you mentioned, it's not the end game for these horses. It's the way they're just crammed into these livestock vans and trailers, and it's the lead up to the end that's really sad. I mean, euthanasia should be a much better alternative, at least that's my opinion, than slaughter. Humane euthanasia.
We've mentioned this before to each other. This is such a difficult issue. Almost unsolvable. I don't think it is unsolvable. I think the best we can do right now is try to solve it to the greatest of our ability as an industry, and hopefully we can get some progress on this, because it's emotional. You can just see it on Facebook, on our website, in the comments section. People get really upset with each other about it, and sometimes it's counterproductive. I know it's tough. We do have a poll around this, though. Do you think people should shell out money to bail horses out of a slaughter situation and, in effect, keep these kill buyers doing what they're doing, which is raising the prices? Let us know. PaulickReport.com, your thoughts. Any last words, Ray?
No, I just, I think we should recognize, you mentioned progress. We should recognize that there has been a lot of progress. And, I think we should celebrate that and support, the organizations that are doing things right.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show presented by Cal Racing Cares. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.